Hello, everyone. Welcome or welcome back to the Martini. I hope you're doing well and I hope you're having an amazing day. Guys, I'm quite excited about today's episode because I've been basically studying the entire day while casually getting distracted by Instagram, and I'm just so excited to talk to you and actually talk to someone because I've been so anti-social this week, and oh my god, guys, we have so much to cover. So let's just get it started. First of all, I am very not excited about the fact that tomorrow we're changing the clock. And you know how last week I told you, oh, I shouldn't have blamed the weather about my depression? Bruh, no, it's becoming real. Like, it's getting dark early, and I know that's a given, but guys, this is just. I take all of this back. I take everything I said last week back, especially now there's this some sort of storm that's hitting the Netherlands. Things have been depressing, and I'm just really not excited to not experience sun until April. So please pray for your girl because I'm going to need every single positive energy thrown my way that I could get. And it's so interesting to me and so telling about our society of how basically time is one of the things that we humans cannot control. It is, you cannot go back in the past, you cannot go in the future, you cannot fast forward, you cannot slow down. Time is, you belong to time. Time does not belong to you. And it's so interesting how, and I'm sorry to bring this up literally like a minute into, like 2 minutes into the episode, but like capitalism is so crazy because this is why we do daylight savings and winter light save, what is it called, winter light savings, I don't know, just like this changing of time so that we can extract as much daylight as possible so that we can adjust our productivity. And it's just, wow. And I, apart from the capitalism side, I'm really not excited to for it to get darker that early because, well, if I'm working 8 hours a day, I will be working, like, I need to leave for work at 7:30 and I will be coming home at 5. So I will not necessarily experience any sun. And while that is a problem in itself, I'm worried about my running because I really started falling in love with running, and it is unfortunately unsafe for me to run in the evening when it's dark by myself. And when I say the evening, like, it literally will start getting dark at 4:30. I will not be able to have the chance to run because, yes, sure, I have bought reflective bands and I have whatever, like a flashlight, but it's just not safe. And this is so heartbreaking to me because I remember it was like a few weeks ago. I was coming home from hanging out with one of my friends, and it was late in the evening, so I took the bus because I was scared of walking home alone. And I saw a man just going out for a run, and I was like, it is, it was like 11-ish or almost midnight, and he was out running, just doing sports. And I was just like, wow, imagine, like, you're really flexing your privilege right now. Because when it gets dark, not just women, unfortunately, like, we are not entitled to walking around carefree and without any worries. And like, you always have to, like, either only have one headphone in your ears or like not have any headphones on and just be alert at all times. And you constantly have to walk with your keys between your fingers and just worrying and like trying to figure out and like just telling your friends, please track my location. And it's just, isn't it so incredibly sad? And like, you get triggered by every single sound. And like, if you are like what is the thing, like, if you're crossing paths with someone, you're always like turning back to see where they're going and if they're following, and like you start walking around in circles around a building to see if they're following you. And this is so incredibly heartbreaking. And I just remember when I went to Italy for my solo trip, first ever solo trip, and up until this point, my only solo trip I've done. And the thing is, self-defense tools are not necessarily legal, and you can get charged if, let's say, you harm someone in you protecting yourself from them attacking you, which is just crazy, the world we live in. And it's illegal to have pepper spray. So what I did is I bought a mini deodorant, and I would just carry it at night with, like, I would literally, it would be in my hand at all times, because I was just scared, because I didn't know anyone, I didn't speak the language. I like, even if someone was tracking my location, that wouldn't do anything, because I was there by myself. Everyone else was in another country. And like, this is when I started, like, I'm very careful who I share my location with, and I only share it with people I know are not going to abuse that power, which is why I started, like, I stopped sharing it with like this one person, because like, they're friends, but they were like checking on me and like asking me what I'm doing at certain places, which I really don't appreciate. So the thing is, the people I trust most with knowing my location are either in Bulgaria, on the other end of the country, or in America. And it's like, what are they going to do even if I'm like, hey, please track my location? Yes, like a fairy guardian, like an angel guardian angel is the correct order of the words. Just look over me while I get home. Like, that is, isn't it so sad that we women have to think about those stuff? And I don't want to any man to come out here and be telling me, no, you're overplaying, you're overreacting, like, this is not true, like, men are also scared to walk on the street. Yeah, think about who you're scared of. Are you scared that a woman might pop up, or a man? And I'm not saying all men are bad. Please don't like twist my words and take them out of context. It's just, I've been followed home by, well, I've only been followed home by men. I've only been catcalled by men. And obviously now it's not like, oh, all men are bad, but like, in a Russian roulette, you would still be cautious to every single gun, despite only one of them being bad. You know what I mean? So unfortunately, there's no such thing as being too cautious or being too safe. And I really wish things were different. And I really wish this wasn't something I had to worry about since I was a child, and that I'll have to consider until forever. And it's so incredibly sad that the only time I feel fully safe on the street at night is when I'm with my guy friends, because no one would approach me if I'm with one of my guy friends, because also they're like big dudes or whatever. So it's just so incredibly sad that I, as a woman, do not apparently deserve enough respect to not be bothered simply for existing unless I have a man in my company. And I just remember this one time, so in the Netherlands, there's a lot of student associations and communities outside of universities, which in your initiation process, you're supposed to do different dares. And I remember I was out with one of my guy friends, and we were sitting at a, it's very, like, it's called a terrace. And like, basically, it's, every restaurant has a so in front of the restaurant with tables and chairs, and it's the outside part of the restaurant. So we were sitting there, and I remember this one guy, he was like, hey everybody, this is my initiation process. I was there to take as many pictures with girls as possible. He approached every single table with women but me, because every single other person literally was women in that cafe slash restaurant. He approached every single person but me because I was with my guy friend. And it's so infuriating that I, in a way, need a man to protect me from men, because men would not respect me enough as a woman, as a person, to just let me be. And I just want to say that by me saying this, I'm not trying to perpetuate a narrative of women be safe and women be cautious and women don't be provocative, because this is not the issue. It is all about raising better men. And I'm really, really hopeful that our generation, when we start like becoming parents, although like some of my classmates have been already giving birth, which is just crazy to me, because like we're literally 16. What do you mean? Like that's child pregnancy, that's teenage pregnancy. I'm just hoping that we have the awareness to raise better men. And what is so incredibly sad to me is that some men only realize women are people when they have a daughter, and they comprehend the fact that their daughter is going to meet men just like them. Isn't it just sufficient to perceive a person as a person simply for them existing? Like you know what? Let's not go too deep into this right now, because I'm just going to infuriate myself. It's just, ladies, stay careful. Guys, please, just like don't be intimidating, and like don't follow women home, don't harass anyone. And I'm not trying to also here say like, oh, there's no women harassers or whatever, like, and I'm not trying to undermine the experience of male victims, but also, if the only time you bring up male victims is to undermine female victims experience, then you're a piece of shit. And I said what I said, and I stand by it. Anyway, so we're changing the clock. Yeah, this is how we got here. It doesn't matter. Every single time we change the clock, do you know what I think about? I think about this one Phineas and Ferb episode in which they were traveling the entire world in a single day, and because they could do it in 24 hours because they were traveling with the time zones, and they were moving like west in that case, so they would just like literally would take them 24 hours to travel the entire world. Now, I don't know if that's like necessarily possible, but like it's Phineas and Ferb. It doesn't need to make sense for it to be enjoyable. I really miss Phineas and Ferb. I was so sad when it was playing. Oh my god, like God. Oh, what the fuck was that accent? God. No, like it was one of my favorites, and I just, oh my god, like one of my hear me outs is Perry the Platypus, and I'm not taking no as an answer. Like, if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Um, but I'm so happy actually that I grew up with that type of Disney Channel shows. I know that Phineas and Ferb actually is having a new season coming out, or maybe it already came out. I'm not too sure. By the way, Brittany Broski is on Phineas and Ferb, or at least they did a sketch together, which is like, no, I like actually. This should be a video podcast of me now taking a video of taking a sip from a soda and just making a weird face as my reaction, because I want to be on Phineas and Ferb. I like, if everybody manifest this with me right now, this episode, I just want you to stitch it in a few years when I'm part of Phineas and Ferb, because this is my jam. I loved it so much, and I just loved how creative it was as a concept. Now, we're not going to talk about the fan theory that Phineas and Ferb are actually dead, and that's why it is only Candace seeing them, because it's her grief making her not let them go and envision them, and that's why her mom and dad never see what they do, because they're actually dead. This is an incredibly sad and gruesome fan theory that I do not want to support, because they're alive and healthy, and sure, they may be enjoying like and like a never-ending midnight sun, but like, yeah, just I loved it. And I'm very happy I grew up with this generation of Disney Channel TV shows because for me, those actually, apart from entertainment, carried meaning and lessons. And I'm talking about lessons beyond the word aglet, which every single person knows. Well, every person from my generation knows exactly because of this show. Because what is the end of the shoelace called? Aglet. Don't forget it. The thing is, I've only know the songs, but I know them in Bulgarian, and it's very difficult for me to, try to make jokes right now because I only know them in Bulgarian. But like the only song I know in English is get your goom is that I love you. I say about you go wow wow. That's what my baby said. Because this one actually was not fully translated. I think the second verse was not translated. They only translated the first verse, and that's why I know part of the song at least in English. But they were old jams. I'm sure that whatever language you watched Phineas and Ferb in, it was a massive jam. And yeah, so what I wanted to say is like, I don't know if it's because I'm grown up now and my entertainment criteria have evolved, hopefully, compared to those that were when I was, 11 or 12. But just from what I've seen right now, the shows are just not it. The shows that are made right now. Like, we had, like, oh my God, like, you could never, ever, ever compare to Good Luck Charlie, Shake It Up, Wizards of Waverly Place. I know, like, there's, like, a new season of Wizards of Waverly Place, or, like, a reboot of it all. And apparently Alex dies or something like this. I don't know. I have not seen it. I don't have Disney Plus. But yeah, I just really wish children now could have the shows we grew up watching, because I also, because honestly, early 2000s, as much as it had its, global economic crisis and just a lot of body image issues, it still was the decade to grow in, because we were at the turn of the old millennium and the new millennium. So we got to experience, we're technically like honorary 1990s kids, but of the new age. So I'm very happy with, I know people always say, oh, I wish I was born in a different year. I am actually pretty happy with not the current state of events, but I'm pretty happy generally with the era in which I was born, because I love calling men girl and seeing them freak out and just go and be like, I'm not a girl. Bruh, shut the fuck up. Yeah, you're a bitch. Doesn't matter. Oh, this is such a big man-hating episode. You're welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, so if I also grew up with like shows my parents grew up with, and because, I'm from Eastern Europe, there was influence in the TV shows I watched. There is this version of, let's say, Soviet Tom and Jerry, and it's called Nu Pogodi. And it's about this rabbit and this wolf, and they're basically like Tom and Jerry. And I'll just never, ever, ever forget when the wolf from Nu Pogodi just smoked, chained like so many cigarettes, and like at once he also smoked like 10, 15, 20 cigarettes, like just at once. And then they wonder why Balkan children start smoking and drinking when they're 11. Like my guy, this, like, not to be all bubble doll experiment, Bandura experiment, 1970s on you, but like, obviously. No, I never smoked, but that's okay. That's just the media I consumed as a child. And you know what's something I would love to see as a reboot? I would love to see, from Good Luck Charlie, to see Charlie as grown up and just experience life and follow Teddy's vlogs, because Teddy and iCarly are the OGs, and they're the reason I'm doing what I'm doing. Because content creators, like inspiring, like blah 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 blah, they are the blueprint. No one else. Bridget Mendler and Janet McCurdy and Miranda Cosgrove, you set the scene for me. You paved the way, and I'm so so thankful for that. Um, I would just like to perceive myself as a little good luck Charlie girly, but yeah. Also, Bridget Mendler, the woman that you are, I if there is one celebrity I am in awe of, that is Bridget Mendler, because she can do it everything. An amazing, talented artist. Like musically and theater art, like actress wise, but also incredibly highly educated, CEO, mother. Just, I love Bridget Mendler. And also, I'm just thinking now, with this storm that's hitting the Netherlands, is anybody else also listening to Hurricane? And I just know those checks that she checks, like she cashes in after every single like massive hurricane that hits a place on Earth. Because this is when people, because our generation is incredibly, like, just inexplainably unserious, and just starts making TikToks to Hurricane by Bridget Mendler instead of, taking shelter. I just know that those checks are very bittersweet, because like she's cashing in money, but like also, a lot of the times there's a lot of casualties. So that's the life of a pop star, I guess. The life of a showgirl, if you will. Anyways, guys, what else have I been up to? Well, I would just like to say that I'm incredibly surprised. I'll share this story with you, and I just want to share my bewilderment about the fact that there's people on planet Earth who have lived so long, and I just don't know how. How have they managed with their two brain cell existence to survive that long and be, in a way, in positions of power? And I'm not going to talk about politics, even though, like, if you think this relates to politics, then we're cooked, because it does relate to politics in a way. But my story does not relate to politics. My story, guys, welcome to our honorary guest, the person I love complaining about the most on the planet Earth, my landlord. And I know you might be thinking, oh, aren't you worried that like they're going to listen to this and kick you out? No, I'm not worried. And let me tell you why I'm not worried. Because every single time there is, like, the landlord comes to the house. I've lived here since 2022 in that particular house. Out of the current setup of people who live in the house, I'm the one who has lived here the longest, which is just crazy to think about, because once I was the new girl, and now I'm, the old experienced dog. Every single time that man comes into the house, he asks me, "Are you new to the household?" My brother in Christ, I have been paying you rent for 3 years every single month now. I'm the one you've seen the most out of everyone here in the house. You would imagine, and I know, basic white bitch, like I look like every other person, not very distinctive. You, like, just the disrespect is crazy, because like he saw me, like he came last week, and why wouldn't he come here unannounced? Because the thing is, in the Netherlands, it's illegal for your landlord to show up in your home unannounced. And that's why they literally announce their visit like an hour or two before they come here, which is also not really great. And for example, it has happened before that my housemates and I have been out for the day, and the landlords come and, mind you, enter our rooms and go through our stuff. And I remember they rearranged my furniture on the balcony and just threw away some stuff. And I'm just like, what are you doing in my room? I know you're the owner, but I'm paying for this. This is my room. You don't enter without my permission. Like, they entered once my housemate's room when she was changing and didn't even apologize. Don't even knock. And like, this is a very big thing here in the Netherlands, that people don't knock when it comes to, like, for example, toilets. People here never knock when they want to go to the toilet, and it fucking pisses me off, because obviously I always lock, because when I was a child, one time I didn't lock and it was traumatic because someone entered, and since then I've always locked. But like, they're just like trying to barge in, and like, it's just so infuriating. Like, I don't know if it's just my culture and knocking, but like, just knock. It's really not that difficult. Like, oh my god, like, knocking is no one ever does it. They assume that you're just going to lock the door, and it's so uncommon to the point that, because I always knock, doesn't matter, locked, unlocked, I'm never, if I see a closed door, I am knocking. Like, it's not my place to enter without permission. So it is so uncommon to the point that it was last week or 2 weeks ago. I was knocking, trying to enter a restroom, and so I knock, and the girl from inside goes, "Yes?" Like, yeah, what do you mean, yes? Also, like, I also in English don't know what to say, so I'm like, occupied, or someone's in here. But like, yes? My guy, do you want me to walk in, or like are you taking orders? Yes? Hello? Just, and like, I know you now might be thinking, oh, maybe she just didn't know what to say in the moment. No, just like, they never knock. Never, ever, 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 ever knock. So that's why, please, if you come to the Netherlands, always lock. Always lock. Because like, for my landlords, walking in without, and that is illegal. But yeah, it's just so fucking frustrating every single time they visit. Because I also just, like, really don't like my landlords. But the reason I started this conversation and this story is, so they announced on at it was almost 9 p.m. on Monday that on Tuesday 8 a.m. there's going to be reconstruction happening in the house. Now, why would you even bother telling the people who live in the house, who like, why would you bother telling them that you're going to do renovation? Like, why would they need to know? It's not like they live here, you know? It's not like it would affect them personally and directly, and they would care. Like, why would you tell them that you have planned something, and why would you warn them more than, 10 hours in advance? Like, why would you do that? Like, that's just stupid. So they come in the morning, they start drilling the entire day. That day I had lectures from later in the day, so I could spend the morning. Well, my plan was to spend the morning studying for my exams, but you can imagine how that went, with just like the drill basically drilling my brain. And then after they finished installing whatever it was that they had to install, the person, the construction worker, left, but my landlord stayed. And as I was leaving for lectures, I walk out. He asks me if I'm new to the household. We have the exact same conversation, script, everything the same. And I'm like, no, I've lived here since 2022. And he goes, do you like it? And I'm like, yeah, it's nice. And that's it. Because also his English is very, very limited. So even if we wanted to, we cannot have a conversation. But I also don't care enough to talk to him. I care enough to talk about him, apparently, if I'm devoting him that much time today. And I had seen him paint. Like, I saw him paint as I was walking out, and I was like, oh, like, maybe my housemate asked him to paint something in her door frame or something like this. Maybe it was chipped. And then I come home in the evening, And do you know what I see he painted? Now, why would the landlord pay attention to the stuff which we have been bringing up as issues for the past 3 years, that have been issues for clearly way longer than 3 years to get to the stage where they are? Why would he fix the gaping holes in the ceiling and the leaking shower and just the rusty, dusty sinks, which I had to beg to get my tap fixed, because I was like, I drink this water, I wash my face with that water, and I brush my teeth with that water, and it's basically bronze at this point. I am not going to, like, this is just crazy. But like, barely got him to fix my tap. And I know, might be thinking, oh, why don't you fix it yourself? I've thought about fixing it myself, but like, there's a reason I pay this man. Um, why would he fix that? Why would he fix the fucking carpet in the kitchen? Because who the fuck puts a carpet in the kitchen in the first place? And a carpet that looks like there's been a murder scene on. And we told him that, and we were like, please, can you remove the carpet so that we can just have the wooden floor, because that will be so much more easier to clean and upkeep, because it's a kitchen. Thanks, Fo. The kitchen is literally, I am not over exaggerating, like 80 centimeters wide, because there's counters and there is an 80 centimeter gap. If no, 80 is too much. 80, like maybe 65 to 70 centimeters gap. This is how wide my kitchen is. If you are a larger person, you literally cannot walk into my kitchen. And that is so infuriating, because, for example, we're 5 people, and like, instead of us like cooking 2 by 2 and like making things go faster, we cannot cook unless we're 1 by 1. And that's why, for example, sometimes I have to cook at midnight, because like, it's like there's literally no fucking space in the kitchen. And so why would you fix the carpet that's been there since the prehistoric era? And when we told you, please fix the carpet, or please remove the carpet, we don't want the carpet in the kitchen. And because the carpet, mind you, is not just like laid on top of the wooden floor, it is drilled in. You know what he did? He just got 2 new small pieces of carpet and put them on top of the existing carpet, and now they move constantly, and we are not allowed to remove them, obviously. So now there's just a carpet that is also just as shitty as the other carpet that's sitting on top of that first initial shitty carpet. So why would he fix that? Why would he fix the gaping holes? Why would he fix the problem with the mice that we have been bringing up? Why would he fix the literally black mold in the bathroom that we've been begging for him to fix? Because guys, black mold is toxic. Black mold can kill you. Fun. Why would he fix that when he can paint the like, it's just paint the tubes in the hallway, the tubes to the radiator and the heating system that simply does not work? Yeah, and they've been bitching about the fact that we've been using up too much gas, despite it being, at the time, September, when it was freezing cold, because the window panes are so fucking old. There's literal wind coming into my room, and the way I fixed this is I've shoved down like paper that I've turned into like bowls, and I've just shoved it in the holes, because there's literal wind in my like entering my room at night. Why would he fix that? Or why would he fix the heating when he can literally just paint the pipes in the hallway a single layer of white, which makes them look... My housemate is having people over. They just came into the house. If you hear them, I apologize. I will wait for a little bit. Okay, I think we're good for now. If not, I'll stop and record later or finish later, whatever. Why would he do any of the things I just mentioned when he can paint the tubes with a literal single layer of white paint. Mind you, the silver tubes. Is it called a tube? Pipe is what I meant. Pipe. Why would he paint any of that if he could paint the pipes that lead, like, are supposed to fuel the non-working heating system with a single layer of white that makes them look extremely dusty right now instead of white, so they look dusty and they look like they're covered with lime scale. Why would he fix an existing issue when he can create another one by himself? And apart from that, do you know what he did? So guys, you know how I mentioned that my kitchen is literally a matchbox because it's that small? We have, our oven is literally as big as a microwave because the space would just simply not fit anything else, and even that is too big. Guys, the kitchen I'm going to have one day, oh my god, like, I'm going to have a spacious, cozy home, and where I'm never going to worry about whether if I buy another glass to my set, it's going to jeopardize my presence in that kitchen. So it's a very small space, and I come back and I see that he has literally lifted the oven and put it on top of the gas stove and just left it there. And I see this wooden box, like, because the boiler that just fuels the hot water of the entire house, which, mind you, sometimes we don't even have hot water. And I know you now might be thinking, why don't you just move houses? Do you know how expensive rent is? Have you any idea of the housing costs, the rent costs in the Netherlands? And how basically, with what I pay for a room here, I can literally rent an entire family house in Bulgaria. Yeah. And my hands are kind of tight, so I'm living below means so that I can live above my means later in life. And sure, I could work even more and just everything I earn to go towards rent, but I would rather not. I would rather be able to also afford groceries, because also, have you seen the grocery prices in the Netherlands? I mean, in Bulgaria, it's way more expensive, in fact, which is very, very sad, because the minimum wage in Bulgaria is much, much lower than the one I get here. And just like ratio-wise, it's so crazy. And like, I, as someone who earns money in euro, when I go to Bulgaria and I spend money there, I'm like, damn, that's expensive. And the currency there is weaker, although as of 1st of January we are entering the eurozone because Bulgaria is a European country. Yeah, and basically we have pipes of the boiler are in the kitchen, and they just go from there through the walls and the entire house. And they put a wooden white box around those pipes. And I texted them and I was like, hey girl, like, what's going on? Why is this here? What is our oven doing on top of the stove? Is everything okay? What's going on? Because again, why would you let the people who live there know that you're reconstructing their entire living space? Why would you? Why? It's not like it affects them and their lifestyle and well-being in any way, you know what I mean? So, and they, like, my landlord, like, they're a couple. So like the lady, she tells me, well, the pipes were ugly, and that's why we decided to install this box. Mind you, not consulted us, not told us anything. And now, basically, we had to move back the oven. And because of that box taking up so much space and it's unmovable, our oven is on the very edge of the counter and it is begging to fall any second. And I just hate my landlords. Like, if there is a special place in hell reserved for people who are landlords, landlords like mine, because I would like to assume that not every single landlord is like mine. but it's just so incredibly frustrating because you could have literally fixed any of the dozens of issues that we have pointed out to you and that are actively affecting our life. And no, you decided to paint the pipes because the pipes were bothering you in the house where you don't live.
Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, I forgot to mention the cherry on top and why I started this conversation about some people living a true brain celled life. Because do you know how he painted them apart from it being literally a single layer that makes them look lusty and covered in lime scale? So it was my housemate's birthday, and we decorated the house and we put bows and rainbows and a happy birthday sign. And obviously, because we had nowhere to attach it, we attached them to the pipes. He painted around the balloons because we decided to leave them a few days extra for, just a nice atmosphere. And now, not only is the pipe a single layer of white, but there is a massive balloon-shaped, unpainted surface. And what is more, because our kitchen doesn't have a door and my room is opposite of the kitchen, when you exit my room and like you look straight into the kitchen, you see that he didn't even paint the entire pipe. He painted just the bottom. The cover isn't painted, so not only are they a single layer of white that makes them look dusty and covered in lime scale, and not only are they painted around the balloons and the bowls, which now we apparently just cannot remove, they are half painted. And that's what I mean by two brain celled individual. Because if you're going to half-ass the job, just don't do the job. And like, how fucking stupid can you be? How are you nearly 70 and just have no comprehension of life? Like my brother in Christ, come on.
And I just really don't get it because, like, don't they realize that they can actually charge more if they provide livable conditions? Also, why are you bitching all about the gas and how much gas I'm using as result of it being cold because there's literal wind in my room? Why are you complaining about this as if you're going to be the one paying my bills? If I use more than this month than last month, you're going to charge me more. I'm not going to be begging you to pay my bills because it's not your responsibility to pay my bills. And I hope that I'm going to be a homeowner one day, and maybe it's not as easy as I think it is, but I'm not going to be reliant on anyone's mercy for me to have hot water and have heating and have electricity. And why am I singing? I don't know. It's frustrating. It's really, really frustrating. And this is why I just genuinely cannot comprehend how people like this are in a power position over me and I am at their mercy. And it's just so fucking infuriating. It is. And I I just oh my god, I just hope one day I'm going to be a homeowner. Isn't it just so sad that the things that the generations before us grew up with, like you're going to have a home, you're going to have a family, those were a given, and it was known that they will be homeowners because it was home ownership was not unattainable for the masses. And now my generation, we're literally romanticizing like home ownership to the point that one day, like I've seen literally on Instagram reels and stuff like these that are like, don't forget why you're doing all of this. One day you're just going to sit in your small cozy apartment that is just yours, and you will be debt free and everything will be worth it. And then you're like, people before me bought this house for a penny and a strawberry, and now I need to go into my savings account to buy strawberries. Isn't that just beautiful? And isn't it so incredibly just infuriating and maddening to a point beyond humanity can comprehend when, like, someone from the older generations just tells you that your generation is just lazy and doesn't want to work, and the things that they did your age are way beyond the things you are doing now because everything was so much more attainable to them, and how they're not considering the fact that, like, you cannot literally, I just cannot go out of the room and not spend 30 euros without literally buying anything, because I used to spend 100 euros a month to 150 on groceries per month when I first arrived here, but now it is 100 euros a week, and it's just so incredibly beautiful and not infuriating at all. Because no, it is not the older generations and their politics and policies that fucked it up for us and just leaving it us as a mess to fix. No, no, it's not infuriating at all. And no, 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 no. We don't want to talk about the political and economic state of the world right now. No, 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 no. You don't want to hear about 9/11. This is a meme. Well, not a meme. Like Mariah Carey. Like, she said this during one of her concerts because apparently her album dropped on 9/11, like, 2001, and like, obviously for I would say pretty understandable reasons, it wasn't the main point in the news that day because, they had something more important to cover, something which my parents, when they saw it, they thought it was the beginning of the Third World War, which fully understandable reaction to go into, like, what the fuck, because also my mom was pregnant with her second child, yeah, and just like at one of her concerts, she said, "No, no, 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 you don't want to hear about 9/11." Yeah, I also, like, how new angles of 9/11 drop literally every single day, and you're like, where has this footage been for the last 24 years? Yeah, that's crazy. Also, I just, around the anniversary of 9/11 this year, I saw that someone actually, talked about 9/11 in the sense that they went to buy Mariah Carey's album first thing in the morning, and they were late for work, and this is the sole thing that saved their life. So in a way, Mariah Carey is the superhero of that person and is the sole reason they're alive today. So shout out Mariah Carey. Okay, guys, we will continue a little bit later because my housemate and her friends are cooking and they're blasting Ariana Grande because, as you should, Ariana Grande. Oh my god, the voice you have, girl. I will. Like, this is one of my dream concerts. Like, my dream concerts literally are Ariana Grande, Pitbull, Billie Eilish, and just Dua Lipa. That's it. If Because, well, my top dream concert was One Direction, but unfortunately that is no longer in the stars for us. So yeah, we will continue after a short break for me and what is literally no break for you at all. Okay, I am tuning in a bit later than expected because my colleague had to come here because she was closing the store and she didn't have a key because like, she gave her key to a colleague who gave it to me, who I gave it to the manager, who had to give it to the owner, who had to give it to my colleague, but like, the owner never gave it to the colleague, so my colleague had to come to my place to get the key to close. That doesn't concern you whatsoever. But yeah, guys, the Louvre was heisted, like robbed. That's the last thing I'll talk about, and then I'll go watch the perfect match. I have stuff to say about the perfect match, but first I want to watch the whole season because I'm a bit behind on my reality TV shows. I know you might be thinking, oh, you are always so, like, posh when you speak about your TV consumption and content consumption and how do you watch reality TV. I love reality TV. I love I love it. I love it. But like, I will leave this for next episode. Now let's quickly go over the Louvre. Um, the Louvre was robbed. Like some people in broad daylight. It was like 9 or 10 a.m. The Louvre was fully open. It wasn't closed. It wasn't like some complex well, I mean, in a way, it is a complex operation, but like in broad daylight, they robbed the Louvre. And that is just crazy because I always thought that like if someone were going to rob a museum, it would happen at night. And like, why are, first of all, why are there not cameras everywhere in the Louvre? This museum is literally one of the most famous museums in the world, period, and it contains some of the most important art, period. Why are there not cameras? I saw something online, like on Instagram, so it must be true, and that's why I'm going to say it to you now. That like someone from like the Louvre said that 25% of the parameters of the Louvre don't have that are not covered by security cameras. How is that a thing? Why is that a thing? Like there should not be a single pixel of that place that is not covered by cameras. Also, why are laser alarms only a thing in movies? Why didn't like an alarm go off or anything imagine going to the Louvre to like you're a tourist that has traveled near and far to go to the Louvre to experience this, and they're like, yeah, you cannot enter the room which has the most shocking like wow jewelry in the world because someone just robbed it. That's wow. Obviously I'm like I can I don't know, like it's just interesting because like my friends and I, we can never plan a hangout and everybody show up on time. Imagine committing such a heist together. Like my friend group would never. Like wow. And this just got me thinking about my experience when I went to Paris, and it was during the Olympics, or well, it was a week before the Olympics started, so everything was quite difficult to navigate despite me literally going with a local. Streets were closed off, tube lines were closed off, nothing was really attainable, and like instead of going from the uh Monet's gallery. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name because I know that the French people will be fuming with my pronunciation. Like instead of going from the Monet's gallery to the Louvre, and that take like 10 minutes or whatever, we had to walk around for an hour, and that was so incredibly confusing. But on the other hand, they were more lenient when it came to the time slots, because you have to sign up with a time slot when you are entering the place, and they were okay with us, being a bit late, because they were like, yeah, it's very difficult to navigate the city right now because no one knew what was happening. And I remember I went to Paris, I went there by train, I went there like let's say 10 days before the Olympics started or something like this, and I literally went there the 2 days before the tube became double the price. And thankfully I could buy like 10 tickets or something like this, because you buy a ticket and it's like a disposable one, and I could get them for, I think it was like €2 per ticket or something like this, because we were using the tube quite a lot. Why am I saying the tube as if I'm talking about London? I'm talking about underground. Yeah, so this, but then literally 2 days after I arrived, it was priced at €4 or €5 per ticket, which is just crazy to me how they were milking this shit so much. And it was interesting to see and hear the perspective of a local and how their life was affected by the Olympics. I mean, at that time she was moving out and I went there to help her move out. And also, vacation. But it was just so difficult to navigate, and I hope I get the chance to go and experience Paris without the Olympic Games, because I remember my friend told me that in order to make Paris presentable for the global audience that's going to be attracted by the Olympic Games, they basically try to get rid of homeless people and destroyed buildings that were occupied, or like, let's say, neighborhoods that were occupied by people in who were homeless and just like in a not good economic state, just so no attention was drawn to this. And they basically deprived the homeless people from their homes, and that's just crazy work, crazy work. And Paris in itself is expensive, and because of the Olympics it became even more expensive, and that was just something in itself. But I remember when we went to the Louvre, the first of all, my overall Paris experience was such a dream come true, and I'm super thankful to my friend if she's listening. Thank you so much. I love you so much. Because like also it was a very big moment, because the like visiting Paris has been my dad's biggest dream. And just when I went there, and the first day I sent them a picture of the Eiffel Tower, like they just called me, he and my mom, and were like, "You fulfilled my biggest dream in life." And it just made me sob, because it's because of them that I get the chance to live the things I lived through. And I'm so incredibly thankful that I get the chance to provide them with that experience, despite it being vicariously. And one day I'll take them to Paris. Trust me, one day I'll take them to Paris. Maybe not now, because like, a bit financially unstable, but one day I'll take them to Paris. And I just remember when we went to the Louvre, we had to wait quite a bit, and it was the middle of July, June, July, no, the end of July. So it was quite hot, and it was quite humid, and just not really great. But I'm thankful that my friend waited and was fine with us waiting, so that I can get inside and just experience it. And that museum, first of all, we could not see everything. Like this museum, like when I also went to the British National Museum in London, this is not something you can explore in a few hours. This is not something you're going to explore in a day. This is something you need weeks for, in order to fully understand what it is that you see, in order to fully submerge yourself in the atmosphere and appreciate the art that you see. Now, are we going to talk about practices like the British Museum and like taking away history and like taking... No, because that is a given. But I just remember I was so mesmerized by the Louvre, because the art there is so stunning. And I know I've told you before about my appreciation for marble sculptures and statues. They have those, and I was just like, because like that was also, mind you, a week or 10 days after I went to Rome. So I was still, through Paris, all through Rome, in the wise words of Harold Stylinson. And I was riding that high still of that experience, and then I went to that experience, and I was just like, oh my god, it was like, I've never been on cocaine, but I can imagine that this is what it feels like when you're on cocaine, like just exhilaration and euphoria. And it was the biggest mind fuck for me, was that when I went to the Louvre, we saw these pictures. I want to look up the artist, give me a second, because I want to give credit where credit is due, because this is the most beautiful shit. Well, shit is disrespectful to say. The most beautiful thing I have ever seen in my entire life. And trust me, I have looked in a mirror. Okay, I look this artist up every single time I tell the story, and I don't know why I struggle so much to remember his name when it's so attainable to remember. Giovanni Paolo Panini. I'm sorry if I mispronounce it. And basically, it's the painting is ancient Rome, and please look it up. It's a picture that was drawn like in the 18th century, and just the detail in that is crazy, because it's like a painting of a gallery, and like everything is like a picture within the picture within the picture, and it's just so beautiful. I think this artist just his art is mesmerizing, and honestly, I've never been that touched by a painting. Also, like the Piazza Navona, like I just the detail of this is immaculate, and I am just in awe of people who have that much talent and dedication to create something so beautiful. And the reason it was such a big mindfuck for me was because I was literally in Rome the week before that. And a week after that, I am in Paris watching a picture within the picture within the picture within the picture of where I was a week ago. And to me, that was just an experience that I cannot how I don't know how to describe it. It was beyond physical. It was just this was such a great wake up call to what I have experienced in life. And I just remember I sat there and I stared at it, and like I could sit and stare at this person's art forever. Like the just I wow. Wow. I know I'm not doing it justice, but like it's that type of art that you when you see it, it leaves you speechless. And I remember I also really loved, wait, let me look up the artist. These paintings I was also just mesmerized by. They're called The Four Seasons, and they are by Giuseppe Archimboldo. I think I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing the name, but they are pictures of people who represent the seasons. And just like I also was reminded of Vivaldi's Four Seasons, and just the people made up representing the seasons, but they are made up of things characteristic to that season. So, for example, spring is made out of spring flowers. Summer, it is fruit. Winter, it is grapes and like the thing you put wine in. I don't remember the name of it. And then winter is just wow. Well, winter was not in Paris in the Louvre. I think they had replicas or something like this. I think it was just some autumn that was there. I'm not sure. Yeah, they had definitely copies because I remember seeing the four of them, but they weren't all the original ones. And this is just creativity beyond my comprehension. Please, guys, look those up. I'm not doing them any justice right now. And obviously, when I saw the Mona Lisa, I know it's like, oh, this is such an basic bitch answer, but like this is arguably the most famous painting in the world. And everybody grows up with stories about the Mona Lisa. Nobody doesn't know about the Mona Lisa. And just being there and seeing it with my own eyes. And I know I'm not discrediting any of the art there. And yes, indeed, the painting that is opposite of the Mona Lisa, it is massive, it is stunning, and it is overshadowed by the Mona Lisa because the Mona Lisa is the Mona Lisa. But just, I've never experienced that type of emotion by seeing a painting. I just went numb, and my body, like I had full body shivers because it was there and I was seeing it. And I like you grow up listening to stories about those places. You grow up like hearing so much about the Eiffel Tower or Big Ben or those are or like the Colosseum, and like seeing those in real life is just, especially as someone who grew up in Eastern Europe, who to me traveling abroad was not attainable until I moved abroad. My family, we never really traveled for like we had this one vacation many years ago, but then After that, the furthest we had gone was Greece, and just not a lot of stuff happens where I'm from, and not a lot of stuff is presented as attainable to us where I'm from. And it's such a small town in a small country, often discredited country, often forgotten country. And just seeing those stuff that is so, like this art that is so important to society, that architecture, that painting, hearing that music, just experiencing that culture, which you thought was only attainable to you in the textbooks of your art class, and you were, I hope one day I get the chance to visit it, but like you don't ever even dream, dare to dream about seeing them, because you're in like, I'm from this town in the middle of nowhere no one's ever heard about, apart from Bulgarians. Like, of course that is not attainable to me. And that just, seeing those stuff, oh, why am I tearing up? Like seeing them live was such a, like, for the lack of better words, a mind fuck for me, because I never thought such emotion and such proximity would be attainable. And I remember, because of the confusion of navigating the pre-Olympics Paris, a lot, like the Louvre and the Orangerie. Oh, I literally said I'm not going to pronounce it, but here I am pronouncing it. They were basically empty. And my friend, who had lived in Paris at that point for 4 years and has been to the Louvre countless of times, was like, I've never been that close to the Mona Lisa, because of the lack of people, we literally had barricade of the Mona Lisa, and we could sit there and enjoy her and like watch and observe, because like a lot of people just like go take a picture and leave, but because of the lack of people, we could actually submerge ourselves in the environment, and we could actually experience the art way better, because like it was way more visible and it was not as crowded as normal, or at least this is what my friend says, because like again, she's been there countless of times. And it's just, I'm like, while it was a chaos to navigate the city in that time, I'm happy I got the chance to experience the museums at that time, because they, like, no one knew how to get there, including us. And it was just so much more enjoyable to actually see the art and experience it. And I will always and forever carry those emotions with me. And do not even get me started on the winged victory, and how just that hallway, the stairway, and she is positioned and on top of it in the middle. It's just like, I understand why celebrities rent out the Louvre to just go and experience it without people. Yeah, obviously for them it's also safety reasons, but if I could, trust me, I would. It's mesmerizing. I hope all of you who are interested in experiencing this get the chance to experience it, because it is an emotion I cannot describe. And as someone who appreciates art, despite sometimes not really understanding art, I I left really energized, and I left enriched emotionally and spiritually. And that was just something I will never forget. Yeah, the Louvre was heisted. Yeah, I mean that this is where all of it started, like this entire story. But it's just, I love museums and I love art, and that was there is a reason this museum is that impressive and that famous, because it is just something that is so carefully curated and so rich in the culture and the history it has collected, that it leaves you speechless. It is an experience beyond the physical, and I will never not carry that emotion in me. And I'm super thankful that I got the chance to experience it, even if it was not for the entire day, even if it, like, we couldn't see everything. I hope one day I will get the chance to go back, because this is something worth seeing. And yeah, who would have thought that actually the Louvre is so much more than where Beyonce's, well, the Carter's Ape Shit music video was filmed? No, but in all seriousness, this is a beautiful place of culture. Now, how this culture and history was attained and compiled in this one space is a question and an episode in itself. But nonetheless, it is such an enriching experience and such transcending physicality space. But yeah, I think this is a great stopping point while we're still on like appreciating art type of situation. I want to thank you all so much for listening to this episode. I hope you enjoyed it.
And I hope to see you in the next one. But until then, stay hydrated, wear sunscreen, and don't support genocide. Bye!